Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Bill is being slowly poisoned by the woman he believes he is meant to spend his life with. Hayley, the devoted and charming wife, seems like a dream, beautiful, attentive, and endlessly supportive. But beneath the perfect smile and soft laughter lies a mind as cold and calculating as the poison she slips into his glass. For Hayley, marriage isn't a sanctuary, it's a setup. She's played her role flawlessly, nurturing Bill's trust and devotion, waiting for the right moment to bring his life and his fortune to a quiet, tragic end. Bill, for all his intelligence and meticulous nature, is a man blinded by love. He's always prided himself on being observant, the kind of man who can read people, who can sense lies before they take form. He's built a career on his ability to detect deception, whether through business rivals or hidden motives among colleagues. Yet, when it comes to Hayley, his instincts betray him. Her beauty clouds his judgment, her tenderness blinds him to the faintest shadows of deceit. He sees her as his redemption, the calm after years of failed relationships and personal chaos. But what he doesn't realize is that Hayley's calm is the stillness before the storm. At first, the signs of poisoning are subtle: fatigue, dizziness, moments of confusion. Bill dismisses them as symptoms of stress. He's been working late, juggling too many projects, and perhaps pushing his body beyond its limits. Hayley encourages this belief, gently steering his thoughts away from suspicion. "You need rest," she whispers, "not another doctor's appointment." Her words are a soft poison theme, sweet, soothing, and meant to disarm. But even as Hayley's plan unfolds, fate begins weaving threads she can't control. Bill receives a message from the private detective he hired months ago, a man named Carter who has been quietly investigating someone named Andre. Andre once worked as a photographer, a mutual acquaintance from one of Hayley's old social circles. At first, Bill wanted to abandon the investigation. After all, his marriage seemed more important than some half-forgotten curiosity about Andre's background. But when Carter mentions that Andre hasn't worked as a photographer for over a year, Bill's instincts stir. Something about the timing doesn't add up. Andre quit his profession right around the time Hayley entered Bill's life. Bill tells Carter to continue the investigation, though he doesn't yet know why. Maybe it's just a feeling, or maybe it's the faint echo of his old paranoia resurfacing. What he doesn't realize is that this decision will become the first thread pulling Hayley's perfect scheme apart. Meanwhile, Hayley is playing her part flawlessly. She knows exactly how to handle Bill, when to act affectionate, when to feign hurt, when to cry just enough to make him feel guilty for doubting her. She's done this before, in different ways, with different men. But Bill is her masterpiece, the culmination of every trick, every manipulation she's ever practiced. The insurance policy is in her name now, signed and sealed. Randy, her lover and co-conspirator, has already supplied the poison, a respiratory suppressant that weakens the body over time. There's no visible trace, no immediate symptoms that would alert a doctor. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, Bill will be gone. Randy, however, is reckless. He talks too much, laughs too loud, and believes himself invincible. His confidence irritates Joey, his longtime friend, who has begun to notice the dangerous shift in Randy's behavior. Joey has always known Randy to be impulsive, but now there's something darker about him, something desperate. When Joey learns about Randy's relationship with Hayley, he confronts him. "You're playing with fire," Joey warns. "Bill's not some fool you can just walk over." But Randy only laughs. He thinks he's untouchable. He believes Hayley's beauty and Bill's love make the perfect cover. In truth, Joey's warning lingers. Deep down, even Randy senses the risk. Bill isn't like the others. He is perceptive, meticulous, and when he finally begins to notice the cracks in Hayley's story, it won't take long for him to trace the poison back to its source. Bill's first clue comes unexpectedly. One morning, as he's preparing to leave for work, he finds a small padded envelope in Hayley's purse. It's unmarked except for a faint smudge of fingerprints on the seal. Hayley quickly snatches it away when she realizes he's looking, laughing it off as vitamins from a friend. But later that day, Bill's curiosity gets the better of him. He logs into the banking app linked to the new card he recently made for Hayley. That's when he notices the transaction, an online purchase from a pharmacy under a pseudonym, dated 2 weeks ago. He doesn't confront her immediately. Instead, he waits. Bill knows that direct confrontation rarely yields truth. He decides to watch her, quietly. From the shadows of his own home, he observes how she makes his drinks, how she insists on serving his food, how she always seems to know exactly when he takes his medication. At the same time, Danny enters the picture. Danny is Bill's longtime assistant and confidant, a sharp, intuitive woman who has always looked out for him. She notices his decline almost immediately. His energy fades, his focus wavers, and his once steady hands now tremble slightly when he signs documents. Danny tries to voice her concern, but Bill brushes it off. Just stress, he insists. Still, Danny doesn't believe him. She's seen enough in her life to recognize when something doesn't add up. One evening, Danny sees Hayley leaving a cafe downtown. What catches her attention isn't Hayley's presence but the man she's meeting, Randy. She recognizes him from photos Bill once showed her. There's an intimacy in their body language, a familiarity that can't be mistaken for coincidence. Danny snaps a picture, unsure of what to do with it yet, but knowing instinctively that this could be important. Meanwhile, Hayley grows bolder. The poison doses increase ever so slightly, just enough to accelerate Bill's decline without raising suspicion. She dreams of the moment it'll all be over, when the insurance payout clears, when she and Randy will disappear somewhere far away. But even as she fantasizes, cracks begin to form in her composure. The constant deceit wears on her nerves. Bill's lingering gaze makes her uneasy. His questions become sharper, his tone colder. Sometimes, she catches him watching her in the reflection of a mirror, expression unreadable. At night, she lies awake beside him, wondering if he knows. Bill, meanwhile, begins piecing things together in silence. His doctor calls after a recent checkup, concerned about traces of an unknown compound in his blood work. The doctor suggests it could be related to supplements or energy drinks, but advises Bill to stop consuming anything unfamiliar. Bill takes note of the doctor's words, and for the first time, he refuses Hayley's morning coffee. She notices, of course, but masks her irritation with a soft smile. Later that day, Carter calls again with new information about Andre. It turns out Andre used to work closely with a small modeling agency, a company that was shut down due to fraud allegations. Several models were reportedly manipulated into financial schemes involving fake investments. One of the key suspects went by the alias H. Summers. The pieces click into place in Bill's mind. Hayley's maiden name is Summers. He doesn't want to believe it, but the evidence grows impossible to ignore. He starts recording their conversations subtly, saving receipts, photographing the contents of the kitchen cabinet where she stores his medicine. Every act of affection now feels rehearsed, every smile calculated. Yet Bill remains calm. He knows he's walking on thin ice, and one wrong move could alert Hayley that he's onto her. As the tension builds, Hayley begins to sense that something's changed. Bill's tone is no longer warm. He's distant, colder, but never confrontational. That frightens her more than anger would. Randy urges her to speed things up to finish the plan before Bill gets suspicious. But Hayley hesitates. For the first time, she feels the faint sting of fear. What if Bill already knows? What if he's setting a trap? Meanwhile, Danny grows increasingly involved. She discreetly visits the detective Carter, showing him the photo she took of Hayley and Randy. Together, they start connecting the dots between Randy's recent purchases and Hayley's pharmacy transaction. What they find sends chills down their spines. The substance Randy ordered matches the one in Bill's blood work. Danny knows she needs to act fast, but Bill's pride makes it difficult. He's not the kind of man who likes being seen as vulnerable, especially not by someone who works for him. Still, she decides to confront him, bringing Carter along for support. But when they arrive at Bill's house one evening, Hayley greets them with her usual grace, acting surprised but welcoming. Bill, pale and tired, joins them in the living room, trying to maintain composure. The air is thick with unspoken tension. Hayley serves tea herself, notably not drinking any. Carter subtly declines, citing a caffeine allergy. Danny takes out her phone and shows Bill the photo of Hayley and Randy. For a brief moment, Bill's face is unreadable. Then, slowly, he nods. He already knew. That night, after Danny and Carter leave, Bill doesn't confront Hayley directly. Instead, he plays his role-loving husband, patient listener. But inside, he is planning. He moves quietly, checking security footage, copying bank records, collecting every piece of evidence he'll need to expose her and Randy. Hayley senses the change but can't pinpoint it. Her instincts tell her to act fast. Randy pressures her more than ever, insisting the next dose must be fatal. She agrees, partly because she wants it to end, partly because she fears losing control. She prepares the final drink carefully, stirring the liquid until it's invisible. But just as she turns to hand it to Bill, she notices his eyes on her. Calm, sharp, knowing. He doesn't take the drink. Instead, he sets it down between them. The silence that follows feels endless. Hayley forces a smile, trying to laugh it off, but her voice falters. Bill finally speaks, his tone steady but cold. "You've been careful," he says softly. "Too careful." Hayley freezes. Her pulse races. For the first time, she feels powerless. She realizes that the game she thought she controlled has already slipped from her grasp. And yet, the night is far from over. Hayley stands in the dim kitchen, the faint hum of the refrigerator the only sound between them. Bill's words hang in the air like smoke, dense, suffocating, impossible to escape. Her hand trembles slightly as she sets the glass down beside his untouched drink. She searches his face for a hint of uncertainty, a sign that maybe he's bluffing. But Bill's expression is calm, almost unnervingly so. There's no anger, no shouting, no accusations, only the quiet certainty of a man who has already solved the puzzle. Bill knows everything now, or at least, enough to understand that the woman he trusted most has been feeding him poison in the name of love. He studies her, almost clinically, taking in the way her lips tremble, how her pupils dilate slightly in panic. For a moment, he feels something unexpected, pity. Somewhere deep beneath the deception and the lies, he wonders what could have turned someone like Hayley into this. But pity fades quickly when survival takes its place. "I never meant to hurt you," Hayley whispers finally, her voice fragile. It's a lie, and they both know it. Bill tilts his head slightly. "You never meant to get caught." That's when she breaks. Her eyes well up, her breath quickens, and her words come out in gasps, fragmented and frantic. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. Randy Hay said it would be painless." He said. Bill cuts her off with a raised hand. He doesn't want to hear her excuses. Every syllable feels like poison now, dripping from the same lips that kissed him goodnight, that whispered love in the dark. What Hayley doesn't know is that Bill has already taken precautions. Earlier that day, after confirming his suspicions, he switched the bottles in the medicine cabinet. The substance in her vial, the very poison meant for him, has been diluted and replaced. If she tries to act again, she'll only expose herself further. He walks past her, leaving the glass untouched, and heads toward his study. Hayley follows, desperate, pleading. She tries to wrap her arms around him, to remind him of the warmth that once existed between them. But Bill doesn't turn around. He sits at his desk, opens a drawer, and pulls out a thick envelope. Inside are photos, receipts, and the bank statements linking Hayley to Randy. Evidence enough to destroy them both. "You're not the first person who's tried to play me," he says quietly, not looking at her. "But you'll be the last." Hayley stares at the documents in disbelief. Her mind races, trying to calculate a way out. Randy, he'll know what to do. She needs to warn him before Bill takes action. But before she can move, Bill speaks again. "I've already sent copies of this to Danny and the detective. If anything happens to anything, you and your friend will be done." Hayley feels her stomach drop. She's trapped. Meanwhile, across town, Randy paces in his small apartment, muttering to himself. He hasn't heard from Hayley in hours, and paranoia is setting in. Joey had stopped by earlier, again trying to talk sense into him. "You're digging your own grave," Joey had said, his voice low and tense. "Hayley is not worth it," Man, she'll turn on you the second things go wrong. But Randy refused to listen. He still believes they can pull it off, that once Bill is gone, they'll run away together, rich and free. What he doesn't know is that Hayley's world is already collapsing, piece by piece. That night, Danny meets with Carter again. They go over the evidence Bill provided and start piecing together a timeline. The pattern is clear. Hayley's manipulation began long before she married Bill. She had done this before, under different names, each time targeting wealthy, emotionally vulnerable men. Danny feels a mix of rage and disbelief. She had always suspected something was off about Hayley, but not this. "I have to tell Bill what we found," Danny says, her voice trembling with urgency. Carter shakes his head. He already knows more than he's letting on. "But we'll back him up. If she tries anything, we'll be ready." In the days that follow, the house turns cold. Bill and Hayley move around each other like ghosts, every word calculated, every glance weighted with suspicion. Hayley pretends to repent, crying, apologizing, promising to go to therapy, to rebuild trust. Bill plays along, outwardly composed, inwardly preparing for the inevitable confrontation. But things take a darker turn when Randy decides to act on his own. He grows impatient, convinced that Hayley has betrayed him. Fueled by jealousy and desperation, he breaks into the house one night, determined to finish the job himself. Hayley is the first to hear him. The sound of the back door creaking open jolts her awake. She slips out of bed, heart racing, and creeps toward the hallway. The house is silent except for the faint shuffle of footsteps downstairs. She whispers his name, Randy, and his shadow appears in the dim light. "What are you doing here?" she hisses. Randy grabs her arm roughly. "You stopped answering me." "What the hell's going on?" "You said it would be done by now." "Shh," she whispers urgently. "He knows, Randy. He knows everything." Randy's eyes widen. For a moment, he stands frozen, processing her words. Then his expression hardens. "Then we finish it now." Before she can stop him, he pulls a small syringe from his pocket. Last dose of the poison. He's trembling, not from fear but from adrenaline. Hayley tries to stop him, grabbing his arm, but he shoves her aside. The sound of the struggle wakes Bill. He grabs the gun he keeps in the drawer and moves quietly toward the stairs. When he reaches the bottom, the sight that greets him is chaos. Hayley crying, Randy shouting, the syringe glinting under the kitchen light. Bill's voice cuts through the tension, steady and cold. "Put it down." Randy turns, startled. "You think you can outsmart me, old man?" he snarls. Bill doesn't respond. His finger rests on the trigger, unwavering. For a moment, the three of them are locked in a silent standoff, the air electric with tension. Then, suddenly, Danny's voice echoes from outside. "Bill." Randy flinches at the sound, and that's all it takes. Bill fires once. The bullet strikes Randy's shoulder, sending him crashing into the counter. Hayley screams, rushing to his side, but Randy pushes her away, his eyes burning with hatred. "You did this," he spits. "You dragged me into this mess." Carter bursts through the door with Danny close behind. In seconds, the chaos turns into order. Randy restrained, Hayley trembling, Bill standing motionless as the gun slips from his hand. The police arrive minutes later. Statements are taken, evidence collected, and for the first time in weeks, Bill breathes freely. Hayley and Randy are arrested on charges of attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. But as they're led away in handcuffs, Hayley turns to look at Bill. Her face is pale, her eyes hollow. For a fleeting second, something almost human flickers there. Regret, maybe, or the realization that she never stood a chance. In the weeks that follow, the house feels unbearably empty. The silence is no longer a comfort but a reminder of everything that's been lost. Danny visits often, checking in on him, trying to coax him back to his old self. Bill appreciates her presence, though words come slowly now. He spends hours alone in his study, staring at the stack of evidence he collected, wondering how he missed the signs for so long. Yet life has a way of moving forward, even when the past clings stubbornly. Danny helps him close the insurance accounts, settle the legal matters, and rebuild what's left of his reputation. Carter's investigation eventually uncovers a trail of victims linked to Hayley's past schemes, giving the authorities the leverage they need to ensure she and Randy remain behind bars for a long time. But for Bill, justice feels hollow. The poison may have left his body, but not his mind. He can't shake the memory of her laughter, her touch, the illusion of love that once felt so real. Some nights, he wakes in a sweat, convinced he can still smell the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. Danny notices his decline. She worries that the ordeal has broken something inside him that can't be fixed. One evening, she convinces him to step outside, to breathe, to remember that he's still alive. They sit on the porch as the sun sets, the orange light casting long shadows across the lawn. "She almost got you," Danny says quietly. Bill nods, his gaze distant. "Almost." But almost isn't enough. There's a long silence between them before Danny speaks again. "You know, you could start over, leave all this behind." Bill offers a faint smile. "Maybe. But some gates, once you walk through, you can't go back." Across town, in the county jail, Hayley sits alone in her cell. Her once perfect composure is gone, replaced by a hollow stare. Randy occupies the cell next to hers, separated by a wall that muffles their words but not their bitterness. He blames her for everything. She blames him for not being careful enough. Their alliance, once built on lust and greed, has crumbled into mutual hatred. At night, Hayley replays everything in her mind the way Bill looked at her that final moment, not with rage but with quiet disappointment. That look haunts her more than any punishment could. She wonders, sometimes, if she ever truly loved him, even for a second. The answer comes like a whisper in the dark. Maybe she did. But love doesn't matter when greed is stronger. Back in the city, Danny and Carter close the last file on the case. "It's over," Carter says, packing up his notes. But Danny shakes her head. "Not for him," she replies softly. And she's right. Bill's story doesn't end with a courtroom victory or a moral resolution. It ends with silence, the kind that follows betrayal too deep to name. He's alive, yes, but forever changed. The poison didn't kill him, but it taught him something cruel, that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who hold your hand while they destroy you. Still, as he stands at the edge of his garden one morning, watching the sun rise over the horizon, there's a faint sense of peace. The worst is behind him. Danny's laughter drifts from the porch, warm and familiar. Maybe, he thinks, there's still something worth saving after all. And as the light breaks through the clouds, Bill closes his eyes and breathes not the poisoned air of the past, but something clean, something new, something that might, one day, resemble hope.